Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Canned Air, your tribute to pop culture. I am Jeremy Colley.
I'm Jack Doherty.
And I'm Randy Hardenbrook.
And today on the show, we welcome another one of those guests that is just incredible. What an amazing conversation we just wrapped up. And based on the, you know, I say this every week. You've seen the cover art, you know who's here, but still got to set it up. And this guy's IMDb, I say this all the time. An IMDb that stretches on forever. This one really does, though. Like sometimes
yes,
when I say it,
this is what I really mean.
This time I mean it.
I'm not bullshitting you this time.
So serious this time.
Well, you know how sometimes when you're doing these things, you kind of fall into the same established verbiage you've used over the years. Not that it's never wrong. Now, these people do have a lot of stuff on their IMDb pages, but when I pulled up this guy's, holy shit. So I had to make a list, and this is only the tip of the iceberg of stuff that he's lent his voice to. You guys ready? I'm going to try to do these fast. A pup named Scooby-Doo, Flintstone Kids, The Smurfs, Glow Friends, My Little Pony, Tailspin, Tom and Jerry Kids, Brave Star, SpongeBob, Wolverine and the X-Men, I loved that show, Rugrats, Hey Arnold, Eek the Cat, Fallout, Bobby's World, The Tick, Jack, The Tick, Beavis and Butthead, Wild Thornberrys, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mighty Max, the Aladdin movie and series, the Little Mermaid movie and series. And I'm just going to stop there because I only did half of that. But
SWAT Cats, Tiny Toons, All Real Monsters.
Well, I've got his more prestigious thing here.
Oh, shut the fuck up, Randy. Got it.
There we go. No, I'm kidding. And I'm mad because at the end of the conversation, he mentioned something about this, but the conversation then got away from it, and I forgot to ask. He mentioned a McDonald's commercial, and one of his credits was voicing Hamburglar in the old McDonald Land commercial.
Oh!
Yeah.
He was the Robble guy?
Rabble. I
No
guess so.
way.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it was the time we got the baby-faced Hamburglar, or if it's a time he had the big snout and real narrow face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He got a makeover that made him a cute burglar.
He got Botox. Got it.
Yes. But Rowdy Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan's Rock and Roll Wrestling, T-Bone and SWAT Cats, IR Baboon and I Am Weasel. Let me just jump up here to the best ones, though. Ickis on Aaahh, Real Monsters, the Big Heads on Rocko's Modern Life, Buster Bunny, and of course Cow, Chicken, and the Red Guy from Cow and Chicken. We welcome Emmy Award-winning voice director, casting director, producer, and voiceover artist Charlie Adler to the show this week. And damn, again, guys, this has got to be one of the favorites I've had in a long time, right?
It's one of those where the conversation just took a turn, and God, I love these type of interviews. Just
It was another one of those. It's not an interview. It is a conversation.
yeah,
It's just,
it really is.
You could tell within the first 5 minutes that we were in for a good hour conversation. And those, like Randy said, favorites. Those are our favorites. So very excited for you guys to hear this. If you're watching the video, check us out on our socials, all listed above, and on our website here. If you're listening to us in the audio format, I'm going to have all the socials and website listed below. I just don't want to keep anyone from this conversation any longer. So let's just cut it right over to our conversation with Charlie Adler. Ladies and gentlemen, legendary voice actor, Charlie Adler. Charlie, thank you so much for being here today, man.
Thank you. Ain't that some shit? That was some intro. Legendary. I think generally you have to be dead to get that status. So
is that
maybe
right?
I am. I don't know. You know, it's a word that's so used often. You know, lately when I'm going on social media and I'm looking at stuff, and they refer to somebody who's done like 3 things in their life, and they refer to them as a legend. I go, what the fuck is that? I mean, it's just so overused. So thank you. I appreciate it. There are probably people out there thinking the same thing about me, but I'm going to accept it. I'm going to accept it this afternoon.
Hey, if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, we know who you are.
Yeah. And I don't sling that word around all the time. I do not.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. I do appreciate that. And I did not grow up in the 80s or 90s.
No, but I did. You voiced my childhood.
I'm glad I did. I'm glad I was able to, and I hope your childhood was not horrific as a result.
No, no,
not at all.
Quite the contrary. Really quick, Jack, did you get your ears figured out?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Hot dog.
Jack, what are we going to talk about, y'all?
Well, you said something right before we started about an engineering story.
There was, I think he's retired. Truly one of the sweetest people I've ever known. His name is Eddie Collins, and he was the engineer over at Hanna-Barbera for the 1,000 shows that I did over there. And I am the worst technician that's ever fucking lived. I mean, here's a microphone. That's all I know. The rest leave me alone. Now, when I'm directing, I become a technician, so I hear everything. But when I'm acting, I don't give a shit. I'm just telling a story, and you worry about it. So Eddie would, before every single show, I swear on my dead mother's ass, he'd go like this. Meaning that's how far I had to be from the mic. And as soon as he did that for me, I would go like this to him. And we laughed. I mean, that's all we did. And the fact that he was so patient with me and tolerated me, to me, is a miracle, an absolute miracle, but really one of the sweetest people ever I've worked with.
Those people in life are blessings, aren't they? Those just with unlimited tolerance that just are willing to sit there with you until you get it. Well,
they're fewer and more far between than they used to be, for sure.
That's the truth.
It's a different world. I mean, I'm spinning all the time. This is how dumb I am. I don't know. Was it Tua Lupe? Is that what's out there now?
Sure.
Oh, good. You know who that is?
Okay, so I have no idea. I think I might have heard that name, maybe.
I'm like, what the fuck is this? And now another legend is born. So I'm thinking, I asked somebody, I go, what? I've been seeing this for like, I don't know, a month now. Not processing. I said, what the fuck is Tua Lupe? And the answer is, oh, she's a meme. So I'm thinking she's a French mime. I said, well, what do you mean? I mean, she has a meme? I mean, the books? And no, she's become, and then I see, then he pulls up this ridiculous soundbite. And now she's represented by UTA, which makes me, I'm so appalled by our culture. Everyone's a star. Everybody's big. It's just weird. It's just weird.
Beyond weird. The first thing that comes to mind, too, is just recently, the Hauk Tuah Girl. You know who that is?
Oh, I'm sorry. I conflated two names. Hauk Tuah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Where did I get the because no, the other woman is actually a very gifted, talented singer, is she not? I conflated names. Dua Lupe. She's lovely, right?
I have no idea who that is.
She's stunning. I probably fucked that name up too. But the Hauk Tuah, that's it. The Hauk Tuah. What the fuck is that?
It's just like you said. It's the state of where kind of we are today. It's unbelievable. She's seeking management. She's looking into. I don't know exactly what she's going to do, but
I think she has it now. I think
she does.
I heard that UTA signed her. So what the fuck is UTA? Where are they farming? I mean, if I were a UTA client, I'd be going, I don't know about this. Well, but good luck to you. Take your cash and run. I don't know.
What I don't understand what they've signed her to do. I mean,
Hauk Tuah, whatever.
Anything, probably anything. Say this brand name.
Why are the Kardashians? That's all I have is why.
Yeah.
Not even how. Why?
Yeah.
And yet, multi-bajillion-dollar industry.
And they've been on for years too. You would have thought that would have overstayed its welcome by now, but no.
What can I tell you? I have so many terrible things to say, but I'll probably get sued, so I'm just going to leave it on right here.
Oh man, I wish I could get inside your head and hear.
You don't want to be there. You don't want to be so noisy. It's so fucking noisy and crowded.
All right, man. Well,
room only.
I wanted to ask you a bit about your growing up, because there wasn't a lot about it online, other than you're a self-proclaimed TV junkie. You liked Rocky and Bullwinkle. What was it? The Beverly Hillbillies, Three Stooges, stuff like that. And I know that you did some theater growing up. Other than that, I wasn't able to find too much. So can you talk about what your growing up was like and what inspired you to become an actor?
Well, weirdly, I'm in the middle of a memoir that somebody's writing with me. So
really?
Yeah. I have too much life, a great deal of it having nothing to do with the business. But I will try to short form this. I was the product of a devoted, beautiful, tender, wonderful mother and a violent, abusive, horrible father. And the only way in which I was able to navigate him was to be funny. I somehow was able to be funny, and I could disarm him. And so I learned early on that that was a skill that was very useful to me. And also I could imitate, I was like a minor bird. So I could imitate the fat motherfucker. And it gave me seconds to escape. Wow. And so, because he left. So, wonderfully for me, he was a traveling salesman. And so he was rarely there. So it was really a gift. I was not suffering for lack of a parent, believe me. And I would watch, my favorite show to watch was Beverly Hillbillies because of Granny, Irene Ryan, the gorgeous, beautiful Irene Ryan who played Granny. And my cousin, who was kind of raised like a brother to me, we would just imitate her all fucking day. He'd spend the summers with me. I mean, it was so stupid. When I look, we still do it, by the way.
Can I hear it?
We still, I mean, I'm going to be 68. He's going to be 71. And I'm still imitating Granny. What is that? So my mother, I think in 5th grade, Bob Merkel, the most wonderful teacher, we did a play on the solar system. And he cast me as the sun, the center of the universe. And I was so nervous. I was very shy, very little, very skinny, very shy. And I found that when I did it, I really dug it. And I also felt that I could leave myself. And so he recommended a woman, a teacher, an acting teacher, which I knew about for probably about 3 or 4 years before I actually did anything about it. And it was a summer program, and I would go every day, all day. It was immersive. And then every Wednesday, since I was close proximity to New York City, we all get on a bus and see every matinee of everything that season, which was so thrilling. And often, which is very strange to me now and wonderful, many of the cast members would stay between shows and have their lunches with their feet swinging at the end of the stage and talk to us kids because of this brilliant woman, Flo. She'd write these letters, and they would all come. Weirdly, I've directed almost all of them. Wow. Or have become friends over time professionally, almost all, which I find so strange and miraculous. And so, yeah, I started commercials when I was 15. I started theater when I was 15. I did Broadway, I did off-Broadway, I did national tours, I did summer stock. I did more plays than I did anything else. And when I moved to LA from New York, the last thing in the world I had ever thought I was going to do was animation. However, once I did one animated project in New York. It was called My Little Pony, which I referred to as My Little Pussy. And I was Spike the Baby Dragon, and they did part 1, and then part 2 of My Little Pussy was when I was on the road touring a show I had done on Broadway, and I was not too far. I was in Philadelphia. So I trained back, did the second episode of it. But that was it for animation. Never thought about it. I liked it, thought it was fun. Didn't really, it was just part of a career. I didn't really think much in any direction. Got out to LA, and through a bunch of circumstances, ended up getting a voiceover agent. I was very hot at the time in commercials. That's when I had brown hair and eyelids. And I was young. And, you know, my agent would say, up and kicky, young and pricky. That was her phrase for me to get the gig. And commercials took an absolute shit out here. I did 2 commercials. I did a Beck's Beer and an Armor All. The end of my commercial career. Thank Christ, fucking hated them. Hated them. Hated the people, hated the auditions, hated the whole fucking process. However, I got a general audition for Hanna-Barbera. And within 2 weeks, I was on the Smurfs. And it just rolled out from there. The first season, I got 9 shows. The second season, I got 10 shows. Third season, 8 or 9. And it just had its own trajectory. I never looked back. I never thought, well, I'm missing anything. And as I've learned over time, my career just in LA is 40 years, almost 40 years. I look at my friends who are on-camera stars, and they have terrible periods of unemployment, terrible periods of non-engagement in the world professionally. And I never have had that in animation. It's been a miracle. And when I sensed and started to sense that I was hitting a glass ceiling as an actor, I looked into directing, and that's a whole other career, and that's taken off for me. So between the two, I'm a lucky fucker.
So going back a little bit, I know you had worked on the Red Fox show, and that it's something you had wanted, and then after you did it, you were done with live action.
Hated
now I think
it. Fucking loved him. And by the way, I did it with Pammy Adlon. Pam Adlon and I got cast together. So she and I had this wonderful time together. And I thought, well, I've got to get my own parking space. I'm going to know where I'm going. The show's going to be a hit. I love Red. The show took a shit. Red was a dream. Loved him. He was wonderful. Pam was a dream. Still a dear friend of mine. I was so glad they wrote me out. And I was so grateful because it was really interfering with my work in animation and joy that I was having doing it. I hated the environment for TV. I really did. I was shocked. Now, flash forward, I did a guest spot on Hot in Cleveland, and because I also directed the animated segment of it, I'm credited as a producer because the Directors Guild won't allow two directors, so they wouldn't give me a director credit. But that's what my producer credit represents. The actual producers said, why don't you invited me to direct the series, the 4-camera series. So I was there learning how to do that. That was thrilling, but then they didn't get picked up.
Oh, that's...
Well, you know what? As my agent says, my manager now, and how would I say, next?
Yeah. Can't focus on the past, right?
No. And you know, my favorite expression is don't look back, they're gaining on you.
That's a good one. But it was essentially just the behind the scenes process, I guess, that what drove you away, just the production happening behind the scenes. What was it really that?
It was slow, it was boring, it was uncreative, it was tedious. I was a sight gag. I didn't like the role. I didn't like the story. I wasn't engaged in it. I had done in my work let me say this properly, in the theater, in my work in the theater, I had wonderful parts that were very exciting and very challenging and either wild or dark or eccentric. I wonder why. And just very interesting people that I loved to play that were such a departure from me. And this was such a dull ass. I would have 6 or 7 lines. I made Red laugh. That was very gratifying. And I liked him so much. But, and I liked that it was live audience because I was used to live audience. But it could bore the tits off of a brass monkey. I just didn't have it. I just didn't have it.
Yeah.
So when it was over for me, it was like, adios, see ya.
That makes sense. I mean, when I read that, thought, okay, I can understand that. But then to see like, there used to be Fireflies where, your one-man show where you're jumping between, was it 11 different characters?
Yeah.
That's incredible. So, that's why I guess I was a little confused because I was like, okay, it's not the aspect of just live acting. It had to be the production or something like that. But can you talk a little bit about that show? There used to be Fireflies. I watched a clip of it on YouTube and it was very interesting.
Oh, thank you. I co-wrote it. They were all based on monologues that I had written on characters that I had created. And we placed them in a neighborhood that was being torn down. And it was, in all the characters intersected and in some way affected someone else's life who was also a character. So everybody in some strange way connected. And it was a significant show for me because in the storytelling, it's kind of how I feel about life now. It's a very nostalgic show that the people who I played just don't exist anymore. They're not allowed to exist. The culture is so different. Oh, and what the show said at the time, I look back, weirdly, I just had this conversation with somebody recently. It reflects a very, very different time and different cultural time. And our society is moving so fast at such a blinding speed that the original incarnation of the show was 28 years ago, and then I think 18 years ago or 15 years ago, I did two incarnations of it. And the world has changed so much from the first incarnation and then the second incarnation. It's almost shocking to me.
Oh, yeah.
So the people, the conversations, the monologues, the expressions, the cultural references are so passé now and so completely non-existent in so many ways. I think the show then had some impact. Now I'm wondering, and weirdly, I want to do it again, but I want to do it with maybe 6 other actors, where I only play 3 of the 11 characters.
I see.
And I want to see how it plays with other performers. And just do it as a what do you call it? A period piece. Can you imagine? 1990 something is a period piece.
It depresses me, man. I don't want to think about it. Those are the best days of our lives.
You know, I think I'm in the best day of my life now, but I feel that about every day. But oh man, it's hard for me to wrap my head around where we are culturally in many ways. And in many ways, I'm probably stupid and snobby and intolerant and a bit of an asshole about some things where I just go, I don't care. Tuah, whatever her name is, Tuah, whatever the fuck that is. I mean,
Hauk
all that
Tuah Girl.
stuff, whatever. You know, I don't get any of it. So, and I don't, and my deficit is that I don't really want to find out.
Right.
My curiosity culturally now is very limited. I just go, I don't really care. You know, everybody's a star now, and there's so many. It's like, who's the star du jour? Du jour. If I watch a show, an award show, which is very infrequent, but if I do, like if I watch the Grammys, I go, who the fuck is that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? And I remember watching a halftime, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, and I think it was Shakira, who I didn't know existed, and she was a huge star. That's how stupid I am. And I think J-Lo. And I swear to you, I swear again on my dead mother's ass, I swear that I didn't realize there were 2 people performing. I thought they were the same person, and they were changing clothes really fast.
Wow.
I couldn't tell the difference. They sounded exactly alike. They looked exactly alike. I could not tell. And then I was reminded very strongly by the room that I was an idiot and that this is what was going on. I went, oh, I couldn't get over how dumb I am.
No, I wouldn't call that being dumb, man. And, you know, deciding...
I was.
No, because we have to filter what's coming in. There's so much coming in and so much more on top of that every single day. You know, and I don't think it matters what generation coming up. I think we all experience as we get older. I feel this exact same freaking way. And, you know, it makes Bob Dylan's song, The Times They Are A-Changin', make a little bit more sense because it's a tale, it's a story that never stops. So, you know, everyone experiences it. I think it's very smart to be able to decide, I'm going to step off the road here and not get involved with that.
I think you're right, Jeremy, but at the same time, I feel like I'm sounding like my grandfather when the Beatles came on the scene. I mean, I have to keep saying, because every now and again I'll say to myself out loud, well, Grampy, what do you think of that? Because, you know, I realize that I'm so opinionated about stuff and so fucking judgmental, and I'm not proud of this. There's a lot of great stuff out there and a lot of remarkable people and a lot of gifted people. And so what I've probably done to my detriment is just delete them out of hand without really necessarily exploring them. However, I just got to tell you, Cynthia Erivo might be one of the most glorious artists I've ever seen in my life. And you're all going, who the fuck is that?
I have no idea who that is.
Oh my God! Well, look her up. You'll flip. She is so breathtaking. I love. Oh! Help me, please help me. She won. She's the performer. She's so brilliant. Her brother writes for her. She's such a gentle.
Billie Eilish.
Yes, crazy about her. Crazy about her. I just, she opens that flapping toilet, and I'm like pulled in. She's glorious. She's glorious. I mean, there are people like that, and then I just go south and just want to watch TCM and be left alone.
So you're not a Swiftie.
No, in fact, I got taken to task about that. And by the way, I think she's remarkable in her generosity, in her activism. I think that she has a voice that should be used, but I could not tell you. If you played a song right now and said, who is that? I'd go, I don't know.
Yeah, same.
Nobody sounds different to me. Everybody has the same frequency. So, and by the way, I'm sure I'm going to get hate mail and, there are going to be crosshairs on my head but I'm not moved. I'm thrilled for her success. I'm thrilled that she touches billions of people. I'm thrilled that people probably learn from her, and she has an amazing platform. But for me, not so much.
Right. Same. I think you and I would be really good friends, Charlie, from the way this conversation's going so far. You're describing me.
Then I have to classify as another idiot.
Yeah. We're not afraid to admit that.
No, we're not.
Who are you, fucking idiot? Very not proud of myself. Kind of a shame, but it's the way it is. What am I going to do?
We are who we are, and I think it's better to do that than to try to listen to something just because the masses are. That irritates me more than anything. Trying to become a Swiftie just because everyone else is.
Hopping on the bandwagon.
Yes, exactly.
All I think about when they say Swiftie is that great thing that you dust floors with.
I would rather spend an evening with that broom than the concert.
And then I was having dinner with two friends who I'm crazy about, and it's a friend and his newish wife, and I was there. I officiated. By the way, I became a minister so that I could marry David Feast, who created Cow and Chicken, and his second wife, and they had the wedding at my house. So this friend of mine wanted me to do that, so I did. And we were having dinner, and she is a total Swiftie. And she's using all these expressions, and I was watching my friend watch me, and his eyes were filling with tears because I was so, with all my heart, wanting to understand what the fuck she was saying. And so I found myself like this. And I think I was in rapid eye movement at some point, I couldn't track it. And finally, he just burst out laughing. And I said, what the fuck are you laughing at? And he said, you're trying so hard. I said, I am. I'm so lost. I feel like I need headphones at the UN to have these conversations. Because all I'm hearing is, huh?
Yeah.
Terrible.
I know exactly what you mean.
And we're all terrible people because I just awful.
And with all these terrible people, they all meet in the church that is canned air. That's what we're here for.
Well, there you go.
Speaking of Cow and Chicken, first, I just got to compliment your performance, man. When this cartoon came on, I was hooked. This was one of the last cartoons I went out and bought a stack of VHS for and just recorded every episode because I loved it. And then
you could have just sent me a nickel.
I'm spending my nickels on VHS. But in this cartoon is a great example of the question I'd like to ask you about your process in recording animation. Being that you voiced Cow, Chicken, and Red Guy, there had to been, I know there were several scenes that all three characters shared at the same time. So when recording something like that, where you have multiple voices within a scene, I know it probably in some cases depends on what the studio's direction is or where you're recording, but are all those scenes recorded, like, are you jumping back and forth between the characters to record the whole scene?
Yes.
Incredible.
Yes. I never recorded them separately. No, I talked to myself.
Wow.
The entire time. No, but you know, I don't have a process other than eating and shitting. I don't know what that word means in terms of how it applies to work for me, mostly because I'm nuts. But here's how I feel about that in particular. They all were such different beings that it was very easy for me to keep them in their own lanes. It was like going to a drawer in chest of drawers and just opening it and then closing it, opening it, closing it, opening it, closing it. I never felt they had their own point of view. I think the writing was so great. It was also very helpful. I felt that oh yeah, dead mother's ass. It was linear for me. I just thought of them as different people. So I never had an issue with that. The issue that I had was at the end of the day, I had to look at my license to see where the fuck I lived and what my real name was. But while I was in there, I was having the best time. I mean, how could you not? I mean, first of all, the show was a blast, but I mean, Dee Baker, Candy Milo, Dan Castellaneta, Howard Morris, and then Mikey Dorn and I did I
Am Weasel.
Yeah.
I Am Weasel. And we just laughed our days away. And the guest stars they had in were such a thrill. And you know, Chris Zimmerman was directing, and Joy. And David Feast was the best audience. You'd hear him laughing through the glass. Soundproof booth, you hear him laughing. Michael Ryan, Steve Marmel, all the writers were just hilarious and nuts. And the animation was gorgeous. Robert Alvarez, the art director, the animation director. I mean, other than the occasional cunt factor at the studio, it was a flawless experience.
Wow.
It really was. It was a wonderful, you know, there'd be an occasional turd in the punch bowl, and we all went like this, and they'd be gone.
Yeah.
Because it was so precious to us, and we had so much fun, and we all had such love and respect for each other. It was a party.
So I know that started out as kind of a pilot with what the cartoon. How soon after that point did you guys find out that it was going to be a full series, or did you know pretty quick after that?
Christ, Randy, I think it was about a year.
Really?
I think.
Wow.
But I'm saying this like I know what I'm talking about. I'm guessing that. I'm guessing. It could have been a month, but I doubt it. They had to animate it, and it was part of Fred Seibert's brilliant What a Cartoon program, which I think Powerpuff Girls came out of, and Dexter's Lab came out of, and Johnny Bravo. And so we were one of those shows that was lucky enough to get picked up. But excuse me, the evening that the pilots showed, you know, I was kind of fascinated with what everybody else was doing, and then I think we were last, in fact. And I forgot why I was there, because I forgot that I had done one. I was having such a great time. And then it came on, and I went, oh, yeah, right. And watched it. And David, I think I told you this, Feast, if you're listening to this, I wasn't that crazy about it. I wasn't that crazy about myself. The characters evolved from the pilot. I think the red guy evolved more than any of cow or chicken.
Sure.
But I was like, okay, this is funny, but I didn't expect anything. But this has to do with, I've been in the business since I'm 15. So you do the math, 53 fucking years.
Wow.
So I didn't like go, oh, golly, oh, mother, oh, father, oh, I want to get married right away. I didn't feel anything. I was like, oh, this is good. It was very complimentary. People were lovely afterwards. I went out and I got drunk and had dinner. I didn't really pay attention. And so from that time, I don't remember the exact time where the pickup actually happened, if it was a month or a couple of months. But from the time we recorded it to the actual pilot, it was probably a minimum of 9 months, I would think, so it was animated. So I'm guessing about a year.
That's awesome.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, and that was one of the, I mean, you voiced so many characters from my childhood. I mean, T-Bone from SWAT Cats. I was a huge SWAT Cats fan growing up.
Oh, thank you.
Buster Bunny from Tiny Toons. I mean,
yeah.
just the list goes on and on. With Buster, though, being, Bugs Bunny being an established character, how did you go about developing Buster's voice? Did you kind of take what was existing and kind of morph it, or did you just kind of go ad lib on it?
My God, you're asking such smart questions. I'll tell you what I remember. I remember there was sort of a dossier about what they were looking for, what they were not looking for. I remember auditioning. I remember getting a call back and another call back and another. I know it was a redirect. I think what I took from the first one was the New York audition. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, they didn't want that. And because to me, an accent isn't just a sound, a personality is formed as part of that. So I had to sort of recalibrate for myself what that meant. And then I think another redirect was not so much of a smartass, more likable, more kind of, oh God, I can't think of it. Mickey Rooney, popular. I can't remember all of it. But by the time I did the last incarnation of it, clearly I think it passed muster with them. And that was where we locked in. But, any show you do, whatever show it is, that probably was my least favorite of a lot of things that I've done, except for Tress MacNeille.
Oh,
except
wow, yeah.
for Cree Summer.
Yeah.
The cast, these are my pals. So it was so wonderful to dance and play with them. The production side, not so much for me.
I understand.
But out next. They kept what they liked. And then I started to say, any show you start, things evolve. It is never where you start exactly.
Okay.
It always gets a different nuance. The writing becomes a little different. The collective idea becomes a little different, a little richer, a little more nuanced. You as an actor start to find different things that you can or can't do with it. It's never where it starts. And that's just fun. The show that I was wild about that really did evolve so much was Aaahh! Monsters, Ickis.
Oh, yes.
That character, just for me, so kept growing. And because Chrissy Cavanaugh, who was one of my nearest and dearest in life, as Oblina and David Eccles, the three of us, it was like a fucking feeding frenzy. Now, weirdly, Tim Curry had never seen the Zimbo. There was an episode where Zimbo and I, Ickis, go on this train trip journey thing. We're paired up together on this caper, and he had never seen it. So, and we're dear, we're like brothers in life. And so I called him up and said, I'm coming over because I want you to see this. And he and I were laughing our asses off because it was like watching two strangers. I kept saying, "You're so fucking hilarious," and he kept saying, "You're so fucking hilarious." And then we were so engrossed with the piece because there had been 25 years between doing it, and I had no idea how great that show was. I just knew I loved the character.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I loved him. He was so neurotic.
And that show was unlike anything that was on at the time, too. It was so out of left field.
It was gorgeous. I mean, I recently got curious. By the way, I never watched anything I've ever done. I got very curious about that. And so I looked up and it was on my dead mother's ass channel. One of those. And all the episodes were on. So I just picked a couple that I kind of remembered. Well, my God. First of all, Klasky Chupo, their style was breathtakingly brilliant. Everything down from the colors to the Foley to all the post to the music. Drew Newman's music was so rich and brilliant. And the writing was extraordinary. Our director, Chuck Swenson, just left us alone. He just said, hit record, and would every now and again come up with a very inspirational, insightful direction, but pretty much let us be unmolested for the hours that we recorded that show. And that was such a thrill. So to see it now, to look back and go, man, that was a beautiful show, wasn't it?
Oh
Yeah.
I need to piggyback on Randy's question about, coming up with the voice for that character. We've had a lot of voice actors on the show over the years and heard many different processes. Some people say, when I first see a picture of that character, whatever voice comes to mind is what I use. And I hear other people say, well, I'll look at a character and like, for example, this character reminds me of my high school gym teacher. And then when I read the description, it kind of reminded me of my Uncle Bob. So I did a hybrid of those two people. Do you have any kind of process like that?
Oy. I'm
not a good question.
No, it's a great question. Your questions are all of you. Your questions are great. I'm just trying to come up with a clever answer that isn't as dull as the truth. Well, I'll give you two examples. So, Ickis just struck me as so breathtakingly neurotic, which has always made me laugh.
And so just the idea of the nerves, he was just a nerve.
All that was just in there. So that, I never think, I just feel my way through shit. So that just felt right to me. And then it just sort of manifested. But for instance, Cow and Chicken, I'm a singer, so I would sing on the way to work, which was an hour commute, and on the way home to warm down, to warm up and to warm down. In my, I know you're going to laugh, a tape deck,
My little tiny tape deck
was Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I would sing all the parts. I would sing everybody's part. Like Cow and Chicken, go back and forth, the back and forth, the back and forth. And when I pulled into Hanna-Barbera for my Cow and Chicken audition, Ellen Green was just finishing Somewhere That's Green. And I turned it off and I walked in. And then I get this packet of stuff, and I see the 760-pound 8-year-old cow, and I thought, oh, I mean, it was that fast for me.
So cool.
It worked so damn well. Damn. Yeah.
I don't think much. I don't probe. I don't go into deep searches. Even when I'm doing, like plays, I just find my way. You just sort of find your way, and then things occur to you. And as they occur to you, you develop them, and you're somehow guided away from or towards. But also a lot of the relationships, and I can't count Karen Chicken as one of them, because I was, fucking myself pretty much. But and it was great gratifying, because people always said, "Go fuck yourself," and I actually did. Same thing with the Bigheads on Rocko's Modern Life. I said, "I'm going to work to fuck myself." Is everybody happy now? I'm fucking myself. So, but you get so much from other actors. So, what other actors bring to the party, you have an idea, but then you're in the room with living organisms who present energy and thoughts, and so it starts to become its own organism. And going back to Tim and me, that's what we did. I met Tim on Paddington Bear. I was Paddington, and he was the evil Mr. Curry, and we just formed this rhythm. Our Real Monsters, David Eccles, who had been an engineer, he never acted, so brilliant, and Chrissy Cavanaugh, who beyond close. The three of us in that booth, which was about 3 times the size of a phone booth, just had this feeding frenzy. And one would trigger something in the other, which would trigger something in the other, and we would end up crying with laughter, because we knew it was such a living thing. To keep it together, because there was so much absurdity happening. But a lot of what actors in relationships, things get formed just in terms of listening and reacting, or feeling and reacting. And I think that's the alchemy that is acting. There's not a lot of thought from my end. It just has to do with it's vibrational, it's energy, it's
playing off your co-host.
Say it again, Randy.
It's playing off your co-host and kind of feeding off that energy.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's like any relationship that any of us have in life, is you bounce off of one another, you play with each other. Improv teaches that. And I think that's one of the best skills that one can have going into animation. And I was so lucky. I was in 2 improv companies in New York. Is that it sort of heightens your reactivity and your creativity on the spot. So if I were to break that process down, I couldn't do that. I would just say, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I gave a very long-winded, highbrow fucking answer to the real answer, which is, I don't know.
Hey, we'll take it, man.
Somebody, this is so, oh God. Do you mind if I just tell this quick story?
Go
Absolutely.
for it, man. Absolutely.
So I had an arthroscopy on my knee. I had a torn cartilage. So I was 22. So you do the math. 46 years ago. Okay. I was living on a houseboat. So I'm in New York. Don't ask. And so I do the arthroscopy. And I'm nauseatingly effusive anyway. But if you give me anesthesia, I could gag a maggot. And so I'm laying there and I'm coming to, and there's this gorgeous face. And she's wiping my brow and she's giving me ice chips and she's asking me how I am. And she has a name tag that says Mickey. And I look at her, and this is how I feel about my work. So this is why I'm telling this story. And I look at her and I go, "Oh, Mickey, you're so wonderful. I love you. You're so kind. You could be with anybody in the whole world, anywhere, doing anything you like, and you're here with me, and you're taking care of me. I love you, and thank you." And she looks at me and she says, "It's my job." Well, there was my answer. And that's my answer. When people are asking me, how do you do it or what? It's my job. I don't know. I'm going to work. I don't know. Ask somebody else.
That probably also answers my next question then. But I'm going to ask it anyway. Okay. I'm sure you have heard the stories of when Mel Blanc was in a coma and how his family and the doctors couldn't get through to him. They kept saying, "Mel, can you hear me? Can you hear me?" Nothing. Wasn't until they came to him and said, "Can we speak to Bugs Bunny?" that he responded in the voice of Bugs. He had that kind of relationship with that character. My question was going to be, can you think of any characters of yours that you might share that kind of bond with? But I don't know. Now that we've heard all this, it makes me think the answer might be, it's just a job. It's my job.
No, that's a really good question. God damn it, Jeremy. Motherfucker. You ask great questions. You get me to think. Well, that's a burden.
I'm so sorry.
You get me to think. What's wrong with you, man? Yes, I think I do. I think I have always been madly in love with Cal.
I can see that. Yeah.
Her innocence has always made me laugh. I mean, first of all, innocence in the face of terribleness and innocence that prevails, to me, is just bliss. When you see some asshole get hoisted by their own petard because someone is just sweet and dear and pure. There was such a purity in her. And her emotional life was so huge. So when she lost her shit, she didn't just lose her shit. She lost her shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's a piece of her that lives in me probably more than anybody. But I have to say, like in my one-man show, there are so many people that I conjure. So like there are a couple of people that just appear in, real life situations where I respond to the world as them. And so, because they've been with me for decades. And so I respond horribly as some of them. And it always just makes me laugh because it's, it's the steam valve, it's the pressure cooker valve that gets released when I do it. And it also, this goes back to my childhood, it also makes it funny to me because if I were to really say so much of what I wanted to say, it would be nuclear. And so instead I default to one or two of my characters who's just to the point and makes me laugh a lot. And so I sort of get through the experience that way.
I see. I just got to comment on how original Cow and Chicken's voices are.
Oh.
I remember growing up trying to, Christ, I say growing up, I was in my 20s at this point. I think I was kind of done with cartoons, but I like that one still hooked me. I was like still watching that, but I tried imitating Cow so many times just to get the inflection of like the big waddle, like that kind of thing. You know, I loved it. And then Chicken, like the complete opposite. And to think that you're just jumping back and forth between these voices. I mean, that's why you're the professional, of course, but it still doesn't cease to amaze.
But you know what? Chicken was an exaggerated version of what I sounded like in my adolescence, because I learned how to talk. I was born in Jersey, but I learned how to talk right outside of Boston. So when I was a little kid, I sounded like a fucking Kennedy. I was like, you know, I was so polite and so New England. And then when I moved to New York, they were making fun of me on the lunch line. So I had to do something. So I started to push the New York ease. And then what I didn't realize is
I was doing it so much that it ended up in my nose.
and so when I went up to get voice class, Bernice Elkin, she's playing at the piano. She says, "Take your fucking voice out of your nose." And
What are you talking about? No one's supposed to know where you're from. And I'm going, oh, who gives a shit? I know where I'm from.
I really think I'm stretching that, but there was a piece of me that sounded to a degree like that. So when, Chicken appeared, it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know him.
Wow.
I know who that is.
Oh, man.
Incredible. It never gets old, those voices. Hearing those voices in any capacity is incredible. But one more thing we have to touch on is you already mentioned that you're, doing voice directing, and there's like casting director, which is incredible in itself in all avenues of the entertainment industry. Can you talk quick about, I know that's happened in the late 90s with Rugrats?
Yeah, the first show, that's right. The first show I did was Rugrats. They tested me on 3 episodes, and then it just took off. And so that began my relationship with Klasky Csupo, where I directed all their projects and their franchises.
Yeah.
Except for one, which shall remain nameless, who was headed by a twunt. And that was fine. That was fine. I can't.
I think I'm going to use that word going forward. I like that word.
So much I was going to say about that, but I can't. Anyway, then it went to the Thornberrys and I can't. I wish I could remember the names of this. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm such a deadbeat. I have these brain deficits.
I've got a few written down here. The Rocket Power.
Rocket Power.
Replacements. Just to name a few. I know there are more.
Replacements was Disney. Yeah. Replacements as fuck, what was it called? Maggie. The Buzz on Maggie. I've been directing 8 seasons of Blaze and the Monster Machines. I've been directing Kaylee Cuoco's performance in Harley Quinn. I directed Stephanie Chu's performance in Kite Man that's coming out. I think it's called something else now. I can't remember. I'm finishing. We're doing post-production. I directed Creature Commandos for James Gunn. He's doing the live action. I'm doing the animated. I've been busy, and but I have to say, I'm very lucky because over time, I have figured out the rooms that are wrong for me to be in, and conversely, so has the business. So it's at this point in my life, everything's pretty clear. I'm directing a Unicorn Academy. This is the 2nd season. It's on Netflix. It's become pretty clear when I have meetings, so I don't hold back at meetings. I don't show up at meetings and go, "Oh, hello. Could you please tell me about your show? Oh, that sounds so nice. Oh, there's an evil wizard with magical stones? Oh, I never heard of that. That's fascinating. Uh-huh. I don't. You know, I go in like I am, and they get it or they don't get it. Good. If they don't get it, wrong room. If they get it, right room.
Wouldn't it be life's like perfect joke if like next week Hauk Tuah Girl's people come in and say, you're directing Hauk Tuah Girl in this next
I have to say, I would be so fascinated to have that meeting.
It would be interesting. I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
Oh, so would I. I want to be a fly on the wall. I just want to, you know, yeah. Well, it's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And so offensive to me. But let's put that aside. What if it turns out in further exploration that there's somebody very valuable in there who is now being shamed for something that's really beyond her control? She just showed up, said something. She has nothing to do with what the world is doing with it. What if it turns out that there's this great gal in there? What if it turns out that we're the assholes and I'm the biggest asshole because I'm responding to not her, but to what the culture's doing in her name?
Right.
What if it turns out that that's the case?
I hope you're right.
I do too. I don't know.
How incredible that would be if there was a season, like a really good musician or a poet or anything in there, like that just would have
anybody.
Yeah. Wow, I never thought about that.
Something to bring to the party, I think is wonderful. You know, so who knows?
I really hope that's the case.
I do too, because I find myself objectifying to the negative stuff that's beyond the control of the people that I'm, pissed at. Why am I pissed at them? What the fuck do they have to do with it? They're just invited to go on this great ride. And shouldn't they go on that great ride? Yes.
Yeah.
And if the world wants to reward them for that, what the fuck am I so mad at?
It's funny you say that too, because when this all started happening, I kept hearing rumors online like, oh, wow, Hauk Tuah Girl now is going to be on OnlyFans and doing all this stuff. And I just immediately was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, this is where she's rushing to. Like, this is already like crazy. But then that was not true. She put out a statement. She's like, I'm not doing any of that kind of stuff. So, she doesn't seem like eager for fame any way she can get it, so I'll give her that. But how do we, this is my fault. I don't mean to keep going back to Hauk Tuah Girl, but.
Okay. Listen, I obsess the same way you do. But what if it turns out that she is excited to go on any ride? I mean, how many of us, for real, would say no to, here's a pot of gold and wonderful travel and thrilling events, and you're going to say no? Because why? Yeah. So I think for me, I have to be very careful about how I express my contempt or outrage, because it isn't the people, it's the culture, and it's the business model, and it's what's compelling people to write checks. Because I don't know any more than I'm saying. I'm trying to expand on a thought, and I'm giving myself a fucking headache.
If I could expand a little bit and maybe go out on a limb, I think it's kind of the same with the podcast industry, right? So you have a show like ours that has been around for going on 13 years now, and then
something like that.
And then the pandemic hits, and you have all these other podcasters that just come out of nowhere to varying degrees of success. It's like you guys necessarily didn't put the work in, but you're already surpassing the people that did. And I don't know, maybe it's something like that.
Well, I think that, we all in different ways have cornered markets. So you've been at this for a long time, and you strive for a certain kind of excellence or an idea of things. And then there are people who have a very different business model for themselves, because over time they're just looking for numbers. They're just looking for the algorithm to reward them so they can monetize what they're doing, as opposed to offering something that in this group momentarily wouldn't necessarily think is a high bar of anything. But I think that we live in a world where there's room for everything and everybody. It is, I think, annoying and insulting when you work so hard at something And as I said, and applies to this, it used to be if you did A plus B, the outcome would be C.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you do A plus B, I don't know what the fucking outcome is. Now the formula is A plus F or F plus Z. Everything feels very random, but I don't think necessarily that the people doing those things since COVID are random. I think they have figured out a business model. And I think that they have learned very cleverly to exploit it. I've never been able to do that. I've never been good with that. And I have a feeling that you probably feel sort of the same way. That you're working in a very linear and logical way to yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to offer something that makes sense to you or might to other people, and you have your niche. But I kind of wonder if we are the ones that are kind of incomplete. Maybe, or not, or maybe it's not incomplete. Why can't this be enough? So how's this one, Randy? What if you didn't compare yourself to anybody else? What if you just did what you do?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I have felt about my career the whole time. I have never competed with anyone but me. Only one person can get it, and if it's you, then it was not meant to be me. There has never been one show where I thought, I didn't want that, why is that? I don't have room.
Right.
I just don't have room. I just got to keep moving. So what is mine has been mine. What has been theirs has been theirs. People that I work with who know and love do conventions in the most wildly brilliant and successful ways. And I've done about 6 of them, and I want to blow my brains out.
There goes my last question.
I don't do many of them. I mean, they have to be something that feels to me like when Tim decided to do, we ended up doing Q&As together. So I would go with Tim. That felt wonderful. Now, I was there, so I would do my own booth, and that was part of the arrangement because I couldn't sit all day and just, do an hour and then what? And there have been a few conventions that I went to where Tim wasn't there. It was just me doing my thing or by invitation to etc. But I don't, first of all, I teach every Sunday. So there goes my weekends. And so I'm not that interested to get on a fucking plane.
Sure.
Wherever. And I'm not a big enough name to get invited to the really huge ones. So, if it was in New York and if it was Chicago and if it was London, I would absolutely consider it. But I've never been invited to those things. I'm not a big enough commodity because I haven't built that. My very clever friends have built that.
That's surprising.
Or they've been in remarkable franchises and have just lucked out in terms of, what they can market. I'm not that marketable. And I've never felt that I was in particular. And it never really occurred to me that I should be. I just go about it.
You definitely should be. That blows my mind.
Well, it doesn't blow mine. I mean, it's very sweet of you, but it doesn't blow mine. And I think that I have a great love and respect for my body of work. I wouldn't change a thing. My triumphs and my full-on total airline crashes, all of them make a career, in my opinion. There are certain ones that I love, certain ones that were successful that I didn't, certain ones that weren't successes that I was crazy about. But I've never been a very clever businessman, and I have never really figured out that I wanted to invest my time and energy in things that didn't feel right to me.
Right.
And so some of the conventions have felt right to me and I've enjoyed them. And some of them that I've been invited to, I go, no, thanks. I got to tell you one that was really significant to me. And this is so odd, but I was invited to a furry convention in Pittsburgh. I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And I knew nothing about the furry community at all. And I mentioned it to a couple of my friends, and a couple of my friends said, "Oh my God!" And they went down their rabbit hole about what I should expect. And nothing anybody said smelled right to me. I can't explain it. It just didn't feel like the whole picture. I thought, you cannot. How are you? Anyway, I went. I have never had a more wonderful time. I have never met a more beautiful, courageous, interesting, eclectic, fearless group of people in my life. And I ended up having some of the deepest conversations, the most meaningful conversations, the most useful conversations. And they were, this community absolutely won my heart. I was crazy about them. Wow. What they did after dark in their rooms, or I didn't give a shit, as I don't about anybody, ever anyway. Who I met, I was mad over. I mean, not like angry.
Sure.
Mad in love. Crazy, sure. Crazy for. And that was a great lesson to me, because I went not sure. But when I left, I was absolutely positive that I was just so taken by them as a whole. And the person who went the year before was terrible. To the people. Disrespectful, rude. I heard stories that really made my heart hurt. And I was treated with such love, and that was wonderful. So I am not adverse to doing conventions. I'm just not, every weekend I'm going to get on a plane.
Right.
And, I think I've probably made it so known that I'm not so crazy about doing them that they've stopped asking. and that's fine. But that's fine. And once again, next. Yeah. I don't swim in any of that. Man. I would love if they did a Tiny Toons thingy, or I was going to say Our Real Monsters, but without Kavanaugh, what would be the point?
Yeah. That's incredible to hear, because I've never known anything about the furry community. Not that I've ever been ultra curious. It's just, never been in my world. I would not know what to expect, but that's refreshing to hear that you had such a great time and they were so good to you.
I did. And I was told about all the sexual deviantness. And I'm thinking, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Oh, that's so shocking. No! It isn't so. Really? People do that? I'm thinking, oh, settle down. But that aside, my God. And what really, really moved me? There were so many people in the trans community that were so breathtakingly courageous and kind. I ended up just, being so moved by so many conversations and so many people's experiences, and the hosts could not have been lovelier, and it was a wonderful time. It was just a wonderful time. So yeah, that was a great convention, and there were a couple that I went to that were fun. And then what I loved is I would see friends, that I hadn't seen in a while, and blah blah blah. But COVID, no thanks.
Yeah, right. No, thank you. Hey, even without COVID, cons are virus incubators. You know what I mean?
You should see me, my God, what I load up on when I would go. And here's something that hurts my heart. I was always, first of all, I'm one of those people that I don't stay behind my desk. I come out and I'm hugging people. And if there's certain people that look to me like they need that kind of contact, I do. And when you take pictures, all that stuff. However, the minute I would finish the encounter, I would spray my hands down, and I thought, what if I was that person seeing me do that?
Yeah.
Made me so uncomfortable. I thought, oh my God, he just hugged me. Now he feels he has to disinfect himself. So that made me so self-conscious. And, I wouldn't just sign things. I would end up, getting a little too involved in conversation with one person. It's hard for me to just go, oh, thank you so much. Bye. There are a lot of challenges for me at these things.
I can imagine.
I'm staying home for a while.
I had that happen to me once at a convention. It wasn't like with a fan or anything, but someone I knew, vaguely knew, hadn't seen in a while, walked up. And again, it was like a year after COVID. Came up to the table to say hi, shook hands, and then afterwards, we are trained to wash, keep, disinfected as much as possible. I shook his hand, immediately went for that bottle and pumped it. And I saw him look and see that. And I think he even said something to me about like, oh, I'm not dirty or nothing. I felt horrible.
Yeah,
but
that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it out of any disrespect. You're doing it out of self-preservation, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's a very strange time we're in, and COVID's on the rise again, on the march again, and particularly L.A., California.
Is it really?
By the way, where are you guys geographically?
Columbus, Ohio.
Really?
Yeah.
I had the loveliest experience. I called it Akron. Akron.
Oh, Akron, yeah.
Akron, yeah.
I called it Akron, Ohio. My VW minivan broke down 100 years ago, and I was driving back from West Virginia. I had a lot of acres in West Virginia, and I was coming back from West Virginia to shoot a commercial for McDonald's, and my van broke down, and I just ran off the exit to this farmhouse, and Mr. Johnson, the sweetest man, let me use his phone, drove me to the airport to get me on a plane to get me home.
Wow.
Got my van towed to his place. He was an elderly man, and we corresponded for a couple of years, and my heart broke because I wrote him, and I got a letter back from his family, said that he had passed. But he was so, and that's all I think of when I think of Akron, Ohio.
Wow.
Is Mr. Johnson. Akron.
You wouldn't get that kind of hospitality these days, the world's changed. I mean, not to say you wouldn't, but you'd be really hard pressed to walk up to somebody's door, knock, and ask, can I use your phone?
I don't believe you would get that hospitality in Akron now.
Probably not. And not looking the way I do. Lord have mercy. There's a deranged old man outside. Lock the windows and doors.
You say looking the way you do, but I got to say something that might come across weird, but I'm super jealous of your physique, man. How often do you work out?
I work out, and thank you. That's not weird. I work out five days a week.
So my 1 day a week is the problem, I see.
And then I'm obsessive about what I eat, what I don't eat. I'm old. But I do. All right. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to tell this. October 21st, I had a very mild heart attack, which led to, and by the way, it was never diagnosed as a heart attack. It was just something weird. However, they went and did an angiogram, and the heart surgeon says, "How are you even alive? Because you have all your arteries are blocked."
Oh my God!
I had heart surgery the next day. They regraft. They take veins from here and here and here. They regraft. 8 hours later, I was hemorrhaging, so they opened me up again. What did I say?
Wow!
They opened me up again, and then I got an infection, which put me in a hospital for about 5 weeks. I lost 44 pounds, all my muscle mass. Had 2 more procedures. And so I was down. I was 188 when I went in, and looking like I do now. And I came out, let's see. So I didn't start working out again until April, and we're in July. So
are you kidding me?
Your body remembers. It remembers.
I guess.
So I'm telling you, I've been doing this since I was 19. And so I kept telling myself, it'll come back. And there were days I thought, oh my God, I can't even imagine that I'm ever going to be myself again. That's how bad it was for me. And weirdly, I just had a follow-up with my primary care physician. And I swear on my dead mother's ass, she said to me, "I don't know if you know how in peril you were. We all thought you were going to die." And I said, what? She said, we all thought we were going to die. And I thought, well, looky-loo. I'm dead.
Wow. That has to be sobering to hear. What damn?
It is, but I guess the real message is that if you are lucky enough to survive stuff, then you are lucky enough to move forward. And if you're lucky enough to move forward, I suggest you move forward with some great determination. And so if looking in a particular way is important to you, and for me it absolutely is, then that's the way it is. And I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. My gym is beyond this wall. I have a gym at home. I am in my gym by 7. And if I have a 9 o'clock show, I've done everything I want to do for the day. So you just have to decide that what it is that you want to do and how you want to do it. And for me, it was pretty clear. And I had to get back to this because I was not happy looking like Sam Jaffe in Lost Horizon. It's an old reference. You wouldn't even get it.
Especially to have that mass and then to lose it all. I mean, it's bad enough you're dealing with the heart attack, but to lose all of it.
My nipples were here.
Wow.
I'm telling you, this arm, the skin hung. I could grab it and shake it like teacher's arm. I mean, there was nothing. My legs were toothpicks. So the body remembers. And the reason I survived the hospital is exactly because of this. Because I am sure that my blood found other ways to get to my heart because of all the years of discipline that I've had. So I am so grateful for that. And you know, I didn't, go on social media and say, guess what happened? I just don't discuss it. But, I'm not hiding anything. But
no, I like that, though. I like that.
This just felt right to express it.
It drives me nuts when somebody's in the hospital and they immediately are taking selfies of themselves and being as vague as possible for attention. I'm just like, that makes me not give a shit. It's just like, I wish you well. I don't wish you bad, but
I know what you're doing.
That.
Exhibitionism. It's such narcissism and exhibitionism.
Yes, narcissism.
I wanted
yes.
my privacy. I just wanted my privacy, and I wanted nothing to do with nothing except to get the fuck out of there. And there were days where I thought I wasn't, or if I got out, would I ever work again? And what would that look like? I was wondering an awful lot, but wonder no more. And I'm back 1,000%, and I find that very heartening because
wow,
it was a long fucking road. This is 9 months now. Damn. They said to me, "You're not going to feel perfectly yourself for a year," and they're right. I still have nappy time.
Go. Sure. Damn, man, that's inspiring, though. It truly is, that story. I
Get your ass in the gym.
Get
your ass in the gym.
Thursdays, Thursdays aren't good enough. I'm gonna fit some more days in there.
Do 3 days a week. Fit in 3 days a week.
Go every other day, maybe.
1 hour. Yeah, just do 1 hour. But do something that makes sense. Look a couple things up, how to do it. Don't just randomly do it. Have a program. 3 sets of this, increased weights, this much rest time. Pick something that from people who do it that makes sense, or you're just, jacking off to a slow waltz, which is fine.
That's going to be the title of my memoir.
Jacking off to a slow waltz.
And that's going to be awkward if Jack co-wrote it or anything.
Yeah. If I had a hand in it, it'd be kind of weird.
Oh, no pun intended.
Yeah, if I had a nickel.
Charlie, thank you so much for taking time to be here today. This has been such a refreshing conversation. If you're ever in Columbus, please let us know.
I shall.
Love to meet up and say hi to you. I think we'd all get along really well.
Yeah.
Well, I think we did right here, so this is a good sampling.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, guys. You stay safe out there. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for saying yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to do it. Very happy to do it. Thank you.
All right, everyone, and once again, that was our conversation with Charlie Adler. We got to get him back, man. We've got to get him back. He mentioned a memoir that he's going to have coming out. Getting back on to talk about that, and you know, he just keeps creating. Look at that IMDb. I don't think there's many gaps in there, so there's going to be many reasons to have him back. But damn, I felt like we got along so well with him.
We did.
There's a lot that he was saying that we totally, man, you're my best friend, I think.
I know. You imagine getting some beers with that guy, just sharing our dispositions all evening.
I'm still not
matching biceps.
Flex, brah, flex,
brah. Come on.
I'm still not convinced that him and Jeremy aren't related, but
you know, I kept thinking the same thing the whole episode. Like, this dude is me. I am him. Without the success.
Don't call him daddy, all right?
One thing that we didn't get to mention, I think he touched on, but I wanted to put more light on, but we just ran out of time, was that he does voice coaching at his website. Go to the official charlieadler.com. Again, that'll be down in the description, if not here on the screen somewhere in the corner. But called Acting in Animation. He does it every Sunday. This class is almost consistently sold out. So if you're interested, get your name in the hat for a future date. But, you know, we've had a few of these voice actors on that have just done some incredible things that are turning around and then, you know, helping people that want to be where they are. That is so awesome, in my opinion, you know?
Hell yeah.
It would be something I would love to do. I would really love to do that. Not only to take lessons, but to take them from a professional. Damn.
That would be the coolest, yeah.
Wouldn't it? So check that out. Again, there's going to be links below. Big thanks once again to Charlie for stopping by. Hope we can do it again in the future. But until then, Jack, why don't you tell everyone what they can find on our website?
Go to cannedairpodcast.com where you can listen, like, follow, subscribe, follow us on our social media, become a patron, buy some merch, see some YouTube videos, and if you'd like to be a guest and promote your work, send us an email on our contacts page.
Don't forget to find us on Instagram at canned_air, Twitter at cannedairpod, and on TikTok at cannedairpodcast, and the website Jack was just talking about and is right here. You can there's a few different ways for you to support us. A merch tab has t-shirts, hats, beanies, cups, stickers, all that kind of stuff, and then a link to our Patreon page, where $5 a month gets you access to a 4+ year catalog that has also transitioned mainly into video. So lots of goodness to be had there. And Randy, what else have we got for him?
And if you're not able to help us out financially, you know, no matter how you're listening to the Canned Air podcast, if you leave us a like, give us a rating, it helps so much. And again, huge shout out to evergreenpodcast.com, the network we are so proud to be a part of.
We absolutely are, and he's absolutely right. A comment, a review, a rating, hit that like button, that notification bell, hit subscribe, just leave a comment in the video. That stuff helps so much more than you know. It's not just making us feel good. So once again, huge thanks to Charlie Adler, and until next time, I am Jeremy Colley.
I'm Jack Doherty.
And I'm Randy Hardenbrook.
Thank you so much for watching and listening, everyone. Be excellent to each other.